Angelica Dante. From New Orleans, Louisiana, and Kingsland, Texas, Siren the Voodoo Doll and Chainsaw.
Siren the Voodoo Doll has come back to WOW and has brought the intensity factor back to Chainsaw, David. I've not seen Chainsaw this focused, but yet this unhinged in quite some time. And Siren herself has come back almost reinvented, reinvigorated, and leading the charge along with Chainsaw's little sister, Angelica Dante.
No doubt about it, Nigel. Siren the Voodoo Doll has added some charge to Chainsaw.
You notice any of those faces on Chainsaw's apron? Got to start looking at milk cartons more often. Nonetheless, Siren the Voodoo Doll, Chainsaw, and Angelica Dante await their opponents.
Well, Nigel, we're going to await the champions now. The Mother Truckers are making their way to ringside. Dante's big sister, Chainsaw, standing in the ring ready to do battle. Let's bring out their opponents.
And their opponents, from Jackson, Tennessee, the truck stop capital of the world, they are your reigning WOW Tag Team Champions, Big Ring Betty and Holly Swag, the Mother Truckers!
David, you know that sound. Give it to me now. Home, home. The Mother Truckers, Holly Swag and Big Rig Betty, the WOW World Tag Team Champions and fan favorites here at WOW Women of Wrestling, walking to the ring with the silver and purple WOW World Tag Team Championship titles. You gotta love the Mother Truckers, David. And just 2 weeks ago, the Mother Truckers successfully defended those WOW Tag Team titles against Los Banditas. But of course, they were attacked by Sweet Heat, David. And you have to think that Sweet Heat is in the background, in the mind of the Mother Truckers. But tonight, the challenge is Chainsaw and the unpredictable Siren the Voodoo Doll.
Well, you can bet your last dollar Fabulous Lana Starr's got her team of Miami Sweet Heat watching this action tonight.
Sure, she does scouting the Mother Truckers, who they've had several issues with, although I think that they were creative issues.
This isn't good. Holly was backing up, looking at her mom, and she backed right up into Chainsaw.
Holly Swag saying, Mom, I think I want you to go in for this one. Big Rig Betty, of course.
Holly sending Mom into the monsters.
Well, Big Rig Betty didn't have so much of a size disadvantage against Chainsaw, but now Siren the Voodoo Doll changing things up for her team. If anybody knows how to play mind games, it's certainly Siren the Voodoo Doll, David.
From New Orleans, the home of voodoo, Siren trying to lock up with Big Rig Betty, one half of the tag team champions of WOW.
And of course, you have to think that Big Rig Betty, she's been to New Orleans a couple of times, but I think it was more or less the party, maybe going through there on a truck trip. But Big Rig Betty gonna lock up here. Siren the Voodoo Doll changing things up, but that's the name of the game when you face Siren the Voodoo Doll and Chainsaw. Side headlock applied to one half of the World Tag Team Champions, Big Rig Betty, by Siren. And Angelica Dante watching on the outside. Siren sent into the turnbuckle, courtesy of Big Rig Betty. Big Rig Betty.
Oh, baby, jamming the Voodoo Doll. And now Big Rig taking her down.
Big Rig with such force, just sending Siren the Voodoo Doll down to the canvas face first with a bulldog, followed up by a super kick, and Siren back up and headed toward the Mother Truckers corner. Now the tag in to Holly Swag. Honkity honk honk, David.
And now the two mother and daughter team are putting it to voodoo.
That's the changing lanes, David, now, as Holly Swag feeling a little bit more confident than she was at the beginning of this matchup. And the rake of the eyes from Siren the Voodoo Doll, putting a stop to any momentum the Mother Truckers have, and slamming Holly Swag down with a powerful clothesline.
Holly now in the wrong corner. Here comes Chainsaw, who Holly didn't want to mix it up with in the beginning of the event.
Would you want to mix it up with Chainsaw, David?
Never. Or the Voodoo Doll.
Either one, we can't blame Holly Swag, but the double suplex, but that's the heart of a champion, to stand in the ring with somebody that's with such a size difference. It doesn't faze Holly Swag though now. Send it to the corner, and her back, you can tell as she clutches it, damaged by that throw, David. Ripping away at the hair of Holly Swag, and here we see the very powerful chainsaw, putting Holly Swag in the full Nelson. Playing mind games with her mother, Big Rig, and biting.
Is she biting her? Is she biting her?
She bit the shoulder of Holly Swag, although I will say this, all is fair in love and war, but we've seen Holly Swag, well, she's bit somebody in a match before, so I guess Chainsaw was getting to it before Holly Swag had a chance.
Anything to win.
Chainsaw going for the stop. Holly Swag moves out of the way, and we've seen Chainsaw hit that splash, and if she hits it now here on Holly Swag, it could be over, but no! Holly Swag moves out of the way just in the nick of time, buying herself a little time, but the very powerful and resilient Chainsaw back up on her feet, ooh, with a forearm that would make anybody's chest cave in, David. 2 in a row now. Very much like that June Byers chop from decades ago. Chainsaw just unhinged now as she has Holly Swag on the ropes. Holly Swag trying to reverse Chainsaw, but the size difference still playing a major factor in this matchup, David.
Taking down Holly Swag with that clothesline is Chainsaw.
Major Chainsaw clothesline, and referee Charlie Wu checking in on Holly Swag. Chainsaw now tagging in to Siren the Voodoo Doll. And as I mentioned, it seems to me that Chainsaw is more vicious these days now that the Voodoo Doll has returned and gotten some influence over Chainsaw. Northern Light suplex connects by Siren the Voodoo Doll on Holly Swag. Senton misses though by Holly Swag. Another second or two to try to make it to her feet. As you can see, Siren the Voodoo Doll struggling to get to her feet as well, David.
Voodoo rushes Holly, taking her over to the turnbuckle by Chainsaw.
And now Chainsaw and Siren the Voodoo Doll working together. There's the knees from Siren the Voodoo Doll. Oh boy, a hip attack from Chainsaw to Holly Swag. And a cannonball follows it up by Siren the Voodoo Doll. Holly Swag just taking so much punishment in the corner of Siren the Voodoo Doll and Chainsaw. Chainsaw now has Holly Swag up, one half of the World Tag Team Champions, but Holly Swag pushes Chainsaw out of the way, and here comes the Big Rig, ducks the clothesline, Siren the Voodoo Doll goes down, Chainsaw with 2 shots, now 3 from Big Rig Betty. It took 3 shots, but Big Rig Betty got Big Chainsaw down.
And Big Rig Betty taken down by the Voodoo Doll. Big Rig Betty though back up on her feet. Big Rig Betty's here in the ring with Voodoo. Chainsaw's got Holly on the outside.
The Jake break by Big Rig Betty.